This is Aisha Shelton.
And this is Kevin Shelton.
Welcome back to Marriage and Real Estate.
Welcome back. New year.
New me.
I don't know about
New
that.
hair.
Hello.
Okay.
Definitely new hair.
Y'all seen a lot of different styles. Y'all know how we do. We are extremely excited to welcome our first guest of 2022.
Yay. Honored.
Patrick and Jamilla Winsey. Thank you so much for joining us today. This year, I think we spent a lot of time on the podcast talking about our experience and our journey in real estate, Kevin and I's. And so this year, we felt like it was really important to share the stories of other couples that are in real estate, because maybe your story doesn't resonate with Kevin and I's, but it may resonate with the Winseys or it may resonate with the Allens. So we plan to bring other couples onto the podcast so we can hear more about their story and their journey in this marriage and real estate.
Love it.
Yes.
So, please introduce yourselves to the audience.
Oh, I get to speak first?
You first.
Oh, that's a first. No, I'm kidding. He always does that. He always puts me on the spot. My name's Jamilla Winsey, and then this crazy guy right here I've been with for, how long have we been together?
Since 2006.
That long. But yes, we've been together that long, and we've worked together since 2008.
Oh, man.
In the business, yes.
In the business, but we met in 2006 while working together too. So, my husband and I, just like with Kevin and Aisha, we own a couple of real estate brokerages here in Houston as well. And I don't know what else.
So again, Patrick Winsey.
And by the way, I'm the only Jamilla Winsey in the world. He always reminds me of that.
In the entire world?
In the entire world. I haven't. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a very
So what's your
interesting
maiden
combination. Would you like? You want me to say my? Okay.
Yeah.
A Fedbois.
So, are you the only Jamilla Afedwa?
I don't think so. I don't know.
So, it's only the combination
It's the combination that makes it unique. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's my real.
Look, that's real though. So, I want you guys to introduce yourself, and I'm gonna table the point I have in my mind. But give the backstory. How did y'all get to where y'all are?
Oh wow, yeah. You know what? You like to tell the story. You get started, and I'll interrupt you as much as I can.
How far back are we going? Very first man, or just the business?
Let's do your real estate story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had already met in corporate America, and she was a real estate investor. She'd always come on talking about, oh, you need to get on this real estate investing, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, making money, I'm learning this, and that's back in stuff was.
2004. We met in 2002. Yeah.
So between 2002 and 2004, somewhere in there, she was doing a bunch of investments and things like that in the Dallas area. And so at some point, I had expressed interest in general in real estate and becoming a landlord, not necessarily voluntarily, but I ended up moving and I just ended up keeping the property for a while. And so I ended up working towards a license, and then. At some point, she's my first broker.
Okay. And only broker.
I have my own broker. Several years, but nevertheless.
He's my number one, my first real estate agent, and the only one that's been with me since that will put up with me.
So,
right, exactly.
And I wear long sleeve shirts to hide all the scars.
Somebody told me something about Mattress Mac, that he married his wife to move her to Houston for free labor when he started his business.
Well, you know what? I mean,
it's called partnership.
Yeah, Pat pretty much was free labor for a very long time until we decided to partner. Yeah, he saw the vision.
Whether I wanted to or not.
So
you
were licensed.
I got licensed in 2004. I started out in real estate though. In I think it was 98 or.
Oh damn.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, by 98, I started out in real estate, just playing around, and then just fell in love with the business. I mean, I obviously kept my job. I got my degree and all that stuff, and but real estate had always been a passion of mine, and so I got into it a lot heavier around 02, 03, when we started really making some good money on tons of investment properties and things like that, and I would always come to work and on the company's dime do other stuff. Use the printer, close. I used to close deals in the conference rooms. It was bad.
Oh, man. Look, that's the start of it.
That is the start.
I was kind of bold, so.
So that's the way boys and girls become self-employed.
Hey.
quickly.
Hey, but I was a good employee.
That's exactly why we don't hire entrepreneurs.
At all.
Right there.
Don't do it.
No.
Yeah.
Don't hire yourself because we're terrible. So
I'm unemployable as soon as you.
but but I was a really good employee, and they didn't fire me. I
Clearly.
still had to quit, and they were still mad that I quit, even though they knew I was doing real estate. I even had an infomercial that everybody at the company saw, and it still kept me on. So
You were wilding.
I was doing something.
You were doing your thing.
I was young and dumb
in her
and
early 20s, she
stupid.
didn't care.
So
And super passionate, clearly.
And obviously influential because you spoiled the
yeah.
other employee right there.
no, because Pat actually is, Pat's the, and I think that was one of the things that was interesting about us because I was always that renegade, think outside of the box, defy every odd that was out there. If there was a rule, it was meant to be broken, or it's just a guideline, so to speak. And Pat was it's 1 + 1. Jamilla, how in the world did you make 2 + 2 = 6? I don't understand that. And so we always talked about that. And I thought that was what was intriguing about us because our love language, so to speak, that I use that as a love language now, is that we always argued with each other. Because I was banter, but he never understood how I could get away with it. Like, 1 + 1 = 2. It's gray. It's not grayish. It's not blue gray.
Black and white.
Yeah, and so he would come to work with these corduroy sweaters and I'm sorry, corduroy pants and argyle sweaters. And I called him Carlton. I used to call him Carlton. And I guess that was the thing. And then when he moved, he left. We became really good friends. And so he moved to Houston, and I stayed back. At the time, we were both married, so nothing happened, y'all. Just saying.
For the record.
We were married
For
to
the
other
record.
people. For the record.
Married to other people. And so I moved to Houston. In the process, I guess somewhere in between that, I got divorced, and we just started talking, and we connected again. And he found out I was getting divorced, and I found out he was getting a divorce. So we're like, well, let's get together and bash our spouses.
Oh, that sounds like
Look,
fun.
man, those second marriages are amazing. I just want to say,
Second marriage
this is my second marriage.
And that was how
it's amazing.
it
the rest is history. So we started a business together. It started out that I carried his license, and we worked so well together over the years because we actually worked at 3 places together in corporate America before I eventually left to go full time.
Wow.
Same field, I guess. I don't know. We crossed up. It's crazy because we crossed paths from the year 2000 up until.
Well, yeah, but that's a whole.
But that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
We lived in the
No,
same
we
apartment
didn't know.
complex. We didn't know each other.
Oh, wow.
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know each other. We just stayed in the same apartment complex, worked in the same companies.
Really?
But
And
look at how God works. Like, y'all are just passing each other
Yeah.
and not even knowing it. And there's this grand plan.
Yeah.
There's this grand plan.
And what was interesting is when we started exchanging these stories, I realized that I'm from Nigeria. The second year I came here, there was a company I worked for. I was working in the mailroom, and I didn't realize that he worked in the same building on the top floor. Like, we met several years later.
Wow.
After that.
Wow.
So of course, the proverbial, man, it was meant to be.
I mean, but
I'm feeling that it was meant to be energy for
Yeah.
sure.
It was scarily.
It was actually, but we have literally, for me, most of my adult life, I've known Pat. So when we started our business together, we started out, just independent, and I was like, hey, let's just partner up, and we became partners, and
Yeah, so she said, "I'll be the visionary and the strategist and all this good
You
stuff,
get to
and
just
you
get
be
to
the
do all the work."
implementer and the operations and."
he's my integrator. So
That's me.
yeah.
So it's funny. All the couples that are really close friends of ours, it's always, I'm very much like the wife. She's very much like the husband. Because she's very black and white. I'm all gray. I just believe the world is what you create.
There you go.
Nothing exists that can't be done.
And I'm always amazed by how you manipulate things. I'm like, I cannot believe that worked. But it always worked. And I'm a believer, and nobody else is. Everybody's like, can you really do it? And I'm like, it's Kevin, y'all.
Yeah.
It's gonna be done.
I've made
amazing.
some magic. And she's like, how? And I'm like,
I don't even question it anymore. I just know that it's a thing. I
Yeah.
just know that it's a thing.
That's us too. It's funny because usually he'll go, "What?" I can see you thinking. You keep writing checks with your mouth that I have to cash.
Starts off by saying, "So, hear me out." Charles walks in the room, so hear me out. Give me this. Let me unpack this for you. That's how she starts the whole conversation. I'm like, so here we go. How much is it gonna cost? And all this other kind of stuff. So it's always interesting.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's where all the magic happens. Hear me
Yeah.
out, and then
Yeah.
But see, you know what I've realized is, and this is what I was going to say before you guys told the backstory. There's events that are cataclysmic, right, in your life. They just change the entire direction of your life. So us being together is one of those events. So if you look at the trajectory of our lives separately and the trajectory of our lives together, it's off the charts. It's completely different. We were out to dinner New Year's Day, and I looked around us, and we were at Tiny Boxwoods.
I love that.
And I was just looking around. I was like, there's no way that we would have been here. Not just at the restaurant or whatever, but the way that we live, how we live, the life that we have together. It's such a different thing than I could have ever imagined for myself, than she could have ever imagined for herself. It's affected everybody around us, our entire families, all the people that we know, our friend groups and everything.
people we've worked with, the people who have worked for us.
It's like it's changed everything by just this interaction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And for the other couples who are friends of ours, it's very similar, right? The life that you've been able to build together is something that otherwise wouldn't exist. So it's almost like you're in your own ecosystem.
That's true. I couldn't agree more.
You created your own universe.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's so funny because we sit and we talk about it. Pat, Pat's very, like I said, normal. I came here when normal, it's not normal. I wouldn't necessarily call your upbringing normal because you've had a very special childhood too. But, for me coming to this country at 18 years old and having absolutely nothing, statistically, I was not supposed to be successful, right? Just a sheer willingness to succeed for my family. So that's been the only driving force, right? And then meeting someone who has a double degree. And I went to school later, so I have 2 degrees too and all that stuff. But this is someone that, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get my good grades.
Had a rigid
plan.
plan.
Right, I'm going to play football, and did everything that he said he was going to do. And then some. And sometimes I laugh because I was like, I feel like I derailed your life, but in a good way.
In a good way.
No, but I mean, honestly, and you could speak to this, is the life you have now, although you might not have seen it, what is that like? Could you have imagined?
I mean, so honestly speaking, and I've told her this before, I was like, at the end of the day, she's definitely got me out of my comfort zone over the years. And we talk about kind of what you were getting at, the recipe, the magic, it together takes us, further along than what we have done individually, right? So no, absolutely. I definitely, we talk about it and we're definitely amazed by, what God's brought our life and our business and our, and our family, and just the opportunities that have come across us just by, what we've done together.
Yeah.
And just kind of being there for one another and having each other's backs. And, everybody has their stories, so to speak, and kind of those, what do you say, mind shift moments, or those, I forgot the term you use, but. But nevertheless, so we have those opportunities where we can go this path or we can go that path. And
the fork in the road.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about, but
the term
I always use the word. It's gonna come to me, but there is a word for it, and it's true. Yeah.
And so, and there's plenty of times I'm just kind of like, okay, I trust you. Let's do it. Let's agree. Touch and agree on it. Yeah, these turning points, if you will. And so, but no, she's definitely helped propel and catapult us a lot further than. I mean, I feel like we would always be successful either way, but just these life-changing, if you will, moments. Definitely, I can tie back to just what we've done together collectively, and just been like, okay, well, just make sure that you say, hey, I'm good with that, but as long as we, that kind of stuff where we're both, both fairly comfortable. Yeah. Like I tell her, I don't look good in an orange jumpsuit.
No, well, we're not, and neither do I.
That's crazy like that, but sometimes I just let me think about that. Okay,
let me make that make sense.
Yeah. I mean, the dope part about it is you were both independently kind of successful in your own right before you came together.
Absolutely.
I think that, many couples think that you almost got to get it out the mud, or you got to no, you can have a whole life and then get a better one too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It doesn't take away from what you've accomplished independently to have something else. Now with us, and I say this all the time, she the brains and I'm the builder. If I would have figured it out, I would have had it figured out before I met her. Yeah. I did not have it figured out. And what we've been able to do together came from her filling in the gaps that I didn't have, because I wouldn't have got there.
But
That's true.
But it was it was it was likewise though. Like I felt the same way, and I feel like Kevin in his life was favored, and I feel like in my life I've been favored, and I'm like, man, if God put two favorite people together,
yeah,
like
I know.
what
Yeah,
you get,
it's just magic.
It's like
it's magic.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. I'm like, oh my God. So he had the one thing we had is I knew that I wanted to be in real estate. Now I work in early childhood. I make $30,000 a year, but I knew that I wanted to do something with real estate. I read books. I had all of the book knowledge. The do. I'm really not the doer. And so when it came to Kevin had the do. He knew how to build things.
Yeah.
He was very handy, didn't know how. So the how and the do came together, and we
got some stuff done.
And that's
we
the
did some
beautiful
things.
thing.
So it really, really excites me because I don't think that the media says enough how great marriage is and how lit it really can be. Like, I love being married. I really like this guy. But also, we meet people that are like, you work with this person every day? Like, we work together, we sleep together, we travel
together. Yeah, they say that all the time.
I'm like, yes.
Like, you don't get tired of it? No. Like,
I mean, we have our days, but I wouldn't do it any differently, though.
Even when we have our days, like, I still want
we still got to go home together.
well, and we separate, like, the personal stuff. When we're at work, it's... Our number one rule when we're at work, don't mess up the money. Work is work.
Oh, no, listen.
And, you know, if there's something where we disagree from a work perspective, you know, we've agreed that, you know, somebody's got to trump, right? Yeah. Somebody's got to be that one that's probably not the good word to use. Somebody's got to be the decision maker.
And it's funny but you're absolutely, and I was going to just go back to what you said. There's no Jamilla without Patrick, and there's no Patrick without Jamilla, because I was also trying to figure it out. You know, after my first divorce, I was broke. I gave all my property away. Okay. I walked away from everything, literally walked away from everything. I had $50 in the bank by the time it was all said and done, and didn't even know where to go. And it's so funny because the friendship that we had at first, I mean, we had pure friendship. I was trying to hook him up with my girlfriends. I was like, they're like, oh my God, he's an eligible bachelor. And no, he was always the one that would always drive us around because it was a bunch of single girls and then Pat.
Some all-star weekends, our NBA all-star weekends.
Lots of, when you're young and you have money, that's what happens, right? But my girlfriend was like, Jamilla, he don't want none of us. He's not interested in any of us. You might want to take a look in the mirror. And so it was really the first time I realized that we had something.
Did you ever look at him like that?
I think I was I'm a very strong-willed person. I just chose not to because our friendship was so strong.
She's like
he was like my big brother, my friend. We would babysit each other's kids, and
you just cut it off.
Yeah, so that was not. And so when my girlfriend told me about it, and I think that was my turning point, because the minute she said it, I already knew. Right? And so that was kind of how we started. We obviously started dating afterwards. The in-between was irrelevant, but funny as well, too. Actually, I'll tell you all the story. So so I didn't realize he already liked me, but he didn't say anything. He was just being really patient. And so we were sitting, I think one time I came home and this is him, right? He would beat me to the house because he would always come home or pick up my son because he was on the list. And the first, he can always tell by the look on my face if it was a Scotch day or wine evening. And so he would always have one of those waiting for me, based on how I sounded on the phone. And so we're talking, we're playing, and then Mary J. Blige comes on, right? It's the song, I'm not in love, it's just a phase I'm going through. And the song comes on, of course. We looked at each other and I ran away. So I went to hide in the bathroom like a child. I was like, I hate it. I hate it.
That's like real life movie.
No, this is not happening. I want to live my life and be single and all that stuff. And God had other plans. So, but anyway, long story short, we just organically started working together.
In the business,
yeah, we organically started working together in the business, and Pat was just that person that handled business. Yeah. I mean, my job was to get out there and get the relationships, get basically build the pipeline. Pat got things done. I didn't have to worry about it. And then there was nobody else in the world that I could trust, period.
That was a big thing.
It was a huge thing for both of us. And so we started Gemstone Real Estate together. It was my company first, and then we ended up partnering, and we did that for 10 years. And then we purchased our Remax franchise, about 5 years ago. That came up on renewal literally 3 weeks ago. And then we chose not to renew because there was another opportunity in front of us that we decided to take advantage of. And so here we are. And even that opportunity was the decision-making process for everything has been interesting. We got married. It was interesting.
It's never a dull moment.
When we decided to buy the franchise, I was like, well, he's like, well, it usually starts with that. Well, and then we start to visualize together. And then we dream and we talk it out some more and we go back. And there's always this really, really good collaboration between us. And so no matter what happens, we're like, okay, so, all right, we got this, right? Okay, let's jump. And so I always make fun because I was like, I'm the one that would jump off, this mountain. I would jump out of a plane without a parachute. Patrick would jump with 2 parachutes and make sure he catches me with my other parachute.
But you know what, though? That's the beautiful thing about it. That's filling in the gaps because I'm like you. I'm out the parachute.
Right.
I'm out the plane. I'm damn near hitting the ground.
Right.
On even the smallest level. So we threw away all of our luggage because it got pretty beat up, right? And Kevin was sending me luggage. What about this? What about this? What about this? And I didn't respond. And then I look and they're in the email and there's luggage. He just bought it. It took too long for me to get it.
Oh my God. Y'all go through that too?
It was a double Samsonite bag. It was on like 50% off on Prime on clearance.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, bro, you wanted hard shell. Like, it met all the criteria. I'm like, I'm
Pull
buying
the
it.
trigger.
I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, take it back. It's
Yeah.
$150.
Sometimes that works out in our favor, and
Sometimes it does.
and it's always with good intention that he makes a move like that,
Yeah.
and then. And sometimes I just don't take it like that. So what was it? An open house. There was somewhere I needed to be, and he planned an open house on that day. And I was like, why would you plan an open house when you knew I had to be here? And I want to meet people, and I want to do this. And I was like, you didn't care about anything that I had to. I just made it into this
big thing, yeah.
When really it was, I didn't make a decision, and he always is going to make a decision. He's always going to push us forward.
Because
that
here's the
sounds
thing.
like us.
She's the visionary,
Yeah.
but I'm the planner. Right?
You're the executor too.
Like, I lay it out. You say, okay, we're going to buy a football team. I'm like, all right, so what does that look like? And I'm going to make the plan. Okay, we got 18 months. We're going to, whatever. So when she says, okay, we're going to have an open house, so we're going to do whatever. Okay, all right, boom. Let me put the pieces in motion. That way we can get it done.
Yeah.
Because I live my life by the goal, and that's how I measure time.
Yeah.
I have to set this thing out here to know that's what I'm shooting for.
Exactly. You have to have something in your sight. Exactly.
That's the only way that I know how to live.
Yeah.
And I've been like that my whole life. So with the luggage, we're going on a trip. We need luggage. She said, we can't use this old luggage. I don't have the time. I got to
make a decision, move forward. Yeah.
We got her a new car last year, but I said, okay, the combination of her mileage, the age of her car, the equity we have in the car, in month June, that's going to turn, okay, so I need to order a truck in April.
Exactly.
To make sure it's here.
Yeah.
And then, okay, boom. So then a car shows up. She's like, hold on, what? And I'm like, this just made sense. It has to, and then she gets the car. She's like, so you look up, and now you've been living life like this.
Yeah.
So everything, all the bricks are laid out in front of you because you said build a road.
Yeah, and for me, you have to give me parameters. 'Cause if you say build a house, I'll build a skyscraper. If you don't give me a threshold, then I'm just going to keep going. And so Pat's usually, he's the one that puts the lid on it for me, right? He's like, okay, man, we're doing a lot.
You're doing
Okay,
I'm
let
the
me
lid.
pull
I'm
back
the
a little
lid.
bit. Yeah.
I'm definitely the lid. And it typically works out that way for us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every couple that's goes through surprise.
And it's funny because, a lot of times when I talk to him about something, I've already seen it 3 or 4 years down the road. So for me, it's just trying to get him to arrive at that first step, and then once and I think we've just trust the process
because
at this point.
Early on, of course, start off as friends or not, married, and that's my best friend. But sometimes I'm sitting up here like, you trying to manipulate me. I'm not a little child.
That's real too.
And I'm up there looking at her. You trying to?
Now that's a straight woman man thing.
No, I get it, but sometimes I'm always kind of like,
What you thinking? But he knows me. That's why though.
Now look, I'm gonna be 100% transparent. She manipulated the hell out of me. Look, she saw me, and she knew, okay, I can build a good life with this person.
Oh yeah.
And she put everything in place. She took away all the questions.
It's getting real.
The way that she presented herself, everything. So she gave me ultimatums. It was like when I met her, we went to a birthday brunch that neither one of us were actually gonna go to. So it was random that we went. And I met her, and I was 9 months divorced. I was like, I'm gonna be on my player.
Right.
Like, it's just gonna be me and my daughter against the world, blah, blah, blah. I had just signed a lease on my first apartment by myself as an adult. I was 25. I was, I'm 2 weeks into an apartment. I go to New York. I come back. I meet her. We've been together ever since. That was 7 years ago.
Wow.
So, I didn't even get my time. You
No,
know what I mean?
you see, that's exactly.
I was like, I can't let
I
this
see
man.
what you're saying.
I can't let this man out in the street.
No, so you saw a
that
good
needs
thing.
H-Town streets.
You wrote to me real quick. That was good
Like,
looking out though, girl.
Because what she did was this. I had a very tight schedule. I was still in school.
Yeah.
I picked up my daughter every night. I kept it till 7 o'clock. I had to take her back to her mama's house after dinner and bath. Like I had a very tight schedule. She'd be at my house at 7, right when I got back to drop it off my daughter. She'd stay at my house till like 10 because I had to get up to go to the hospital at 5 in the morning. She lived life with me. I had no objections. We didn't date. Like we didn't go on a actual probably real like dinner night date till we were 6 months in.
Nice.
Something like
I don't
that.
know about that.
When did we go out to dinner?
I don't have a good memory, so I can't.
But every night I pick up my daughter and I had her every weekend.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the time.
No, she was invested.
I was.
But that was a good thing. You should write. No, honestly, you might want to give some coaching on that. Some people need to learn that. It takes patience and consistency in anything, relationships, business, building, exactly. And so if you have something good, it doesn't happen overnight. No.
Y'all said a point about the trust in your marriage, and I wanted to touch on that because we feel very similar. So our marriage is our safe space. It's the one place that I can be 100 with her, she can be 100 with me. We have no enemies in this house.
That's right.
So it's our shield against the rest of the world. It's us against the rest of the world.
That's right.
And y'all talking about trust, I felt that. I was like, this is. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, well, let's partner on some stuff. I was like, the only partner I got, I'm married.
Yeah.
Everybody else, everybody else is at an arm length distance.
Yeah, you're right. It's important. And that's the thing about business. All things could go to hell and back. Everything could come crashing down tomorrow. We could wake up tomorrow and find out that was just one big mistake. And I just spent the last 10, 15 years of my life working on something. Although, it was great, but I have to start over.
Yeah.
What really keeps me, and feeling sane and safe and confident and bold and fearless to be able to jump and do something and say, hey, let's do this, is because I know that he allows me to be me and vice versa. And no matter what happens, we're going to handle it together. Yep. And that is way more powerful in my mind than anything else. And when God brings two people like that together, it's really an unstoppable force. He's the only one that can say when. At that point.
Yep.
So, and I wholeheartedly believe that. So to your point, it's a very special thing to have that.
And I think it's come down, for me, I look at it as just respecting our individual, unique identities, I guess, if you will. Letting us each be who we are.
Yeah.
And just appreciating those strengths and where we fall short, just knowing that person well enough to know, hey, at the end of the day,
yeah, exactly.
That's who they are, and I still got them.
No, exactly. So. And our employees laugh at us because especially our manager, she's in the office every day with us when we have meetings. And she's just like, she literally understands us now. Like we could be having an argument in the conference room, but it's not really an argument. It's just our banter.
She sees the facial expressions.
And she knows, and the crazy thing is she knows how to read it. So I was like, I'm not letting you go. Do you know how long it's taken us to find somebody like you?
No, that's a real thing. We probably going through that more now than anything else. We, started hiring on staff and stuff for both of our different businesses, but we share an office.
Yeah.
So I'll tell a funny story. You ain't gonna like it, but I'll tell it. So we hired an admin. And he came from a temp service. So we like, okay, we're gonna bring him on full time or whatever. Now, she knows a friend of ours, a really good friend of ours, is hiring like loan officers, whether he's a lender. So this person had a loan officer like background.
Yeah.
So here she goes. I'm talking to my team about bringing on this person full time. She starts talking to him over lunch. She's like, we have a good friend looking for somebody. But I'm like, bro. And I'm trying to pay this person like 40. And this person can make like 100 with it. I'm like,
no,
why would you cut my legs out from under me? He don't even know this person. He doesn't know this opportunity exists.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you're killing me.
Same team.
No, it's so funny. Yeah, but that's us because Pat's the money guy. He's, I like they know, do not give Jamilla checks. It will still be in her purse 3 months from now. Those agents will not get paid.
In the dark, office,
so I will forget to put it. So Pat handles all the back office, all the money. I mean, and then we have thresholds because I will spend. My heart is so big, so I spend like that. But
wow.
not.
I haven't heard him put it just like
not
that.
Unresponsible.
I know somebody like that.
I would rather give. I would rather
like
give
that.
away $5,000 than go buy a purse for $5,000. That's just me.
That's real.
And so
that almost implies God made my heart so big.
And so because I'm
that
for
I just
example,
spend so much money.
and so to him, he's like, "Why you give that person a 40% tip?" I don't know, because I felt like they did that. That's kind of the way he is. And versus he would take the calculator out and calculate and make sure he's not tipping on tax.
Math on my own. But if I want to make an adjustment,
I'm not tipping on tax.
It's a good balance.
And I don't tip on tax.
balance.
She thinks that's a problem.
I think it's a problem.
Subtotal.
No, he
Because
just
tax. Why am I tipping on tax?
again. See,
That's a really good point.
I need him on. I need him
about that.
because Pat knows I will give away. I will give. I don't.
You're gonna get a farm away.
I don't believe in holding on to anything.
I'm with you.
I just don't have that.
I think give yourself wealth, but it comes back.
It comes back. I
No,
believe.
No, and I
that.
believe that.
I agree.
We've been blessed with that. I mean, so every year, some background on her. When she first got here and she was going to school and what have you, she worked a couple of jobs, and one of them was with Denny's.
Yeah, I was waiting tables at Denny's.
So her big thing every year is there's a Denny's by our house and near our house, and every year she likes to around the holiday time like to go and leave some crazy tip or whatever after.
Yeah, leave like a grand slam and leave like a $100, $200 tip, and then run out.
Yeah,
because I don't want them to know.
Or, what have you. So no, but you do have a good heart. You do have a big heart.
He protects me from it.
I'm just.
They need to be protected.
Yeah, he protects me
they
from
need
it.
to be protected.
Yeah,
No, that's real.
Yeah,
That's real.
I protect his big heart too.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, when it comes to charity, though, you write big checks, bigger checks than me.
Okay, that's because that's what I do. But all I'm saying is I protect your heart because you give a lot to people, and I have to.
I give to people. She gives to organizations.
Yeah. Well,
checks.
I'm learning to appreciate it though, because as much as we love to help people and be there for them, not everybody feels that way about us. So for me, I've had my heart broken too many times, and so he's the one who gets to experience the hurt and that loss that
my big discerning spirit knows.
He's discerning spirit usually,
and
he growls at people that he does not approve of. Like he's not even trying to smile. Like what?
Oh man.
Well, there's that. I do believe in discernment, and sometimes you can kind of tell. There's a lot of things I don't really comment on at the time, but there's times I'm kind of like, you need to kind of watch this, watch that, and just kind of be careful. Just have that little throttle.
Yeah. So he's protecting me a lot from it.
I feel like I do that for you too.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
We made a rule when we got together. We made a rule. It's like, you take your people, I take my people, right? So, like, we each have our own families and our own family stories and trauma and whatever. Yeah. And she protects me from my family, but I know my family story, right? So I'm like, this such and such happened and this and that and this. She's like, all right, then we just gonna keep that, keep that in line. And then her family's like, oh, I'm like, all right, but
I got you.
She'll make sure that I'm not available for the folks that would take advantage of me.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to make sure she's not available for the folks that would take advantage of her.
No, it's a great way to put it. I mean, I don't have a lot of family like here. Most of my family is in Nigeria. My sister, who I came to the country with, she lives in San Antonio. So it's really just myself, Patrick, our sons, and I have a little brother as well. So, and then obviously we have friends, but when it comes to just that, closeness.
Nucleus,
that nucleus. This is my nucleus, right? And so I used to think that it was a bad thing until I realized, it's a blessing. You don't have to deal with a whole lot of family drama, but at the same time, it's the family that you want, that you've picked and you selected for yourself. So you make the best of it. But yeah, so that's another reason why when it comes to friends and, we set our vows when we got married. And of course, we did the traditional, my people will be your people. And that's literally what it is. Our friends, my best friend's husband is his best friend and vice versa. So it's just this big family. And then the women, we call it the crew, right? The women in the crew were all the same, very successful. But nobody knows what anybody does because nobody ever talks shop.
Yeah.
But, there's only one realtor in the crew, which is us, right?
Nice.
And so we've grown up together, but at the same time, it's really a tribe of people that protect each other. So, we're going to guys' night. I'm like, I know where y'all are going to be because we're going to be.
But see,
going to be.
This touches on your point of not your grandparents' marriage, right? The thing that I love the most about these new age marriages is it's transparent.
Yeah.
Right? Like whether it's technology or just the time, but we just different kind of people. Mm-hmm. I ain't gone for, you can find me. You know what I mean? I ain't working no night shift. I ain't got no side family. Like I'm reasonably accessible.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy my relationship. So that level of communication is the difference, right? Like this is my best friend and I do love talking. So when we not talking, we might talk. I mean, I can't even count it in the course of a day.
Yeah.
But when we dated, I remember saying this it hasn't changed. I haven't talked to a human being on this earth as much as I've talked to her. The amount of time, we have a TV in our house, but we barely watch TV. Yeah. When we together, we just talking.
Yeah.
And it's been that way for 7 years, nonstop.
That's amazing.
You can't even count the hours. I'm quite sure for y'all, you can't look.
We were the traditional no you hang up couple.
And then you start working together. It's like close your office door, not close yours.
Yeah, you can drive yourself to work.
I mean, we would drive to work together. Like today, we drive to work together now. Like we're at work together, unless we just have different appointments. But yeah, no, like when we worked, we were good friends before we started dating. He's behind me in the car. We're still talking
on the phone.
Yeah. On the phone. We get in the car, different cars. We're talking on the phone. We're walking into the house, talking. I mean, it's just and that really, you don't realize how much that builds, though. That's such a huge foundation.
Yeah.
Right. And even till today, like Pat just go, and I'm like, babe, my brain is full.
Well, the funny part about it is I'm not really
I
the
go.
big talker,
right.
though, because constantly you out, you doing things,
talking,
know, and so I when I get a chance
he's
to talk,
the guy in the shadows, right? But no, but I have my moments too where I'm just like nonstop, just go. But we both, I mean, it's a constant conversation. And sometimes at 2:00 in the morning, he's like, "Oops, jamilla hazing. Hey, wake up. We're gonna talk about this."
Oh yeah, the level of appreciation I have for the fact that if I get her up at 4 a.m. to sit her on the couch because I got an idea, I had a dream, I had a vision, and she'll curl up in a blanket and she'll listen to me. And I think that a lot of even our life now is built off those late night conversations, those dreams, you know what I mean? That, hey, we think this could work, or, baby, I got this idea.
Yeah.
I think, we should try this or whatever. I mean, even this podcast was her vision.
Yeah.
And of course, me being the action, I'm like, okay, get the mic. I got to edit it. And I remember every Friday night we record. Now the podcast come out on Friday at midnight, 11 o'clock.
Y'all are just recording?
I'm dragging her out the bed like, come on, man, let's record. Come. Aww. And we wouldn't even edit it. We would literally record it because it's traditionally like a 30-minute podcast. We record it, and I just put it up. And I'm not even doing. I'm like, I don't even have the bandwidth. I just need to get it out.
So I have a question.
That's awesome.
Because I think the audience that we attract to our platform, to the Marriage and Real Estate, what we like to call the Marriage and Real Estate Society, are people who are married. There's a couple of criteria. You don't have to be married, but marriage minded, married together. You want to build wealth together. You like your partner. I think that's important. If you don't like your partner,
oh gosh,
marriage and real estate is not for you.
And like and love are two different things.
Those are true. We say that all the time.
Different
You
things.
gotta like
you
your
gotta
partner.
like
You
your
do.
partner.
You have to like your
Because you're
partner.
gonna go through days when you don't love them.
Yep.
But that
Well,
like
you're always
takes
gonna love
well,
them.
and you love them all the time. It's like, but you're never always gonna have that tummy tangling.
Not the
you know.
obligatory love. Not the like we have
exactly.
these kids, we have these
Yeah.
bills
We
Yeah.
have
kind
this
of
stuff
love.
together.
Yes.
I mean the kind of love that like you get on my nerves, but
But.
I can't imagine being with anybody else kind of love. Like those are very important ingredients.
Absolutely.
And I meet a lot of women that if either they're single or even couples that one person's on board, the other person is not on board with this real estate stuff. Do you
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
tough.
do you feel like that's important? Do you feel like both parties have to be on board for this to work, for marriage and real estate to work?
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely helps. I mean, it should. I mean, I think, you know, we talk about being equally yoked, so to speak, and it doesn't mean that means it's their gift per se, but I think that being on the same page, being on one accord, because again, there's things that we don't agree on, and it's okay, but I respect the skill set which you bring to the table. She respects what I bring to the table, where we add value. When there's gaps on both sides, we have admins or
People who
staff or vendors
Sure.
or whatever.
resources.
But at the end of the day, if we're going to do this, we got to do it right. And I think, for us, you got to have some type of, plan, strategic plan we business plan every year. And
we turned our house into a whiteboard.
yeah, there's a big old whiteboard that
And no,
rolls.
seriously,
It's
we just
double-sided. It
we're
rolls
always
in the living room. Our kids are looking at us like, "What are y'all doing?" Because they're 19 and 22, so they're constantly looking at us like we're crazy. And now I think they're just kind of numb to it.
No,
But,
actually, no. I think they've accepted it. I mean, I don't think they'll ever do real estate because it's see how
Yeah,
much time
told
it
us
takes
that,
away
yeah.
from us. But
You guys spend
yeah, so we have an academic and a creative, and so, but I always feel like they're going to come back. So, but no, to your point, no, I think it's important. Excuse me, I don't think that we would be as successful if we both weren't all in. And I realized that because Pat kept his job. I mean, he's a high 6-figure earner. And so when we decided to really go all in, and what I mean by that is, we decided to take on overhead and open up a franchise and all that extra stuff. It was just for me to run it, and, he always understood real estate, so he was always going to be supportive, but he saw how much it was taken away from me and us. Because by the time I got home, I was just,
you were beat.
I was done, but he also realized, this is our dream. And so the original arrangement was that I would continue to keep the family going and we didn't have to touch our savings and this, that, and the other. Well, fast forward, we realized, no, this is going to be impossible. And so the minute, and it's so funny because he always said, babe, you always joke with me, he's like, babe, you're going to know when I come home, it's going to be full-time. I'm going to come in, I'm going to have my polo and my jeans on and my backpack. Because as an entrepreneur, that's always been his dream. I just want to show up because, he always come basically, suit the whole thing, right? And so one day I was sitting in the conference room and I looked at him and he didn't tell me. And I at first I got mad that he didn't tell me, but I was like, no, it worked out the way it was supposed to. So he walked into the office with his backpack and polo shirt and his jeans, and he was like this, and walked into his office, and that was it.
That would work after work.
That was it.
I was always,
He never-
always
had a
worked.
9 to 5, and then I would
And then he would
come
come
and help with
and he
that.
would
the
work
office.
with the
Do all the
office,
back office
but
stuff in the weekend.
he showed up in the middle of the day, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh my God, stuff just got real. I said, that savings account's going to be looking real low in a little bit.
But this is why I feel like you have to be on the same page, because in real estate and in business, things are going to be great.
Yep.
And
And
then
then
there's
they
going to be
not.
times when things are
Exactly.
not.
Exactly.
And so if it's not an agreement, if
Yeah.
we are not in a, hey, we're about to take this journey, it's going to be some tough
It's gonna be tough.
times
It's gonna-
in that
yeah.
marriage. Because if she or he didn't want this in the first place, and then you go through the rough, which I think builds character, it builds better
Yeah.
businesses, it makes better, it makes us
yeah.
better people
Yeah.
when we do go through those things. but the shit is hard.
It is hard as
Well,
hell.
let me say
It
this.
is hard.
I want to add context, and I want to say two things about it. 99% of couples aren't going to do what we do.
That's true.
Right? And the approach that y'all started off with was our original plan was similar to that. And we call it the stabilizer and the igniter, right? So somebody goes out and hustles. They're the entrepreneur, they're the creative, whatever. And then somebody just holds the family down, right? And for some couples that works, and you can build wealth. And, we have couples that are a doctor, one person's a doctor, one person whatever, and they go out, and the person who's a doctor loves being a doctor. They ain't gonna stop being a doctor to buy houses. So, they leverage those things. For us, very much like y'all, we had a unique journey where it didn't work without us. Like, we had to be all in.
Yeah.
We tried it separately, and we didn't get the same results.
Yeah.
Everything that we've ever done, it only works when we do it together.
That's true.
Yeah. And when we quit our jobs at the same time. We don't recommend
Very
it.
ghetto.
Don't do
We-
that.
I think y'all heard me say that before.
Don't
Very,
recommend. No,
very
you
ghetto.
listen. I would never recommend.
Look,
If it's
and
something
What
that-
insurance?
Anything about all of those things.
And I'm very much a planner. So when I tell you, before we quit our jobs, we had three-hour meetings with our CPA, and we had all these plans, and I had 9 fail safes. I was like, this gonna happen, this gonna happen. Ain't none of that shit happened.
Yeah.
Everything. We had the worst year that we've ever had.
Wow.
But the blessing was that, and we do a planning session too. Every year we do a conference. We've been doing it since 2015. It's just us. We plan our life, right?
Yeah.
That year, the motto for 2019, which was our full-time year, was do the hard things first. And we proceeded to do the hard things.
I like
It
that.
was hard.
But
But so much great came out after the fact. Now, it was a hard year.
Yeah.
But so much great stuff came out of that. And then now we fully understand, okay, when the dark times come, when the hard stuff comes, okay, we go head first into
That's
it.
right.
Because we know all the benefits that come out of it. There was one other thing I wanted to say. Oh, I wanted to talk. Y'all have the whiteboard that floats around your house. Mm-hmm. We have a collage wall in our bedroom. That's whiteboard, 2 calendars, push pin boards. Like, our whole bedroom wall is a collage wall.
That's awesome.
And every couple that we know and we follow that is some level of success does some version of what we all do, whether that's sitting down every year and kind of planning your life. The only way to get to these visions is to put it down on paper, make it plain. You know what I mean? To sketch out what you want your life to look like. But it's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard.
It is very hard. I mean, and that's the thing. I think, even though we had worked together for so long together, I think this was still probably the hardest thing we've had to do as a couple, because we had to learn new balance. We had to learn new habits. Not talking about work 24/7. We still break those habits once in a while, but it's a concerted effort, especially when we have like big things like we're getting ready to do, like what we just did, and the decision to get there. That was a 24/7 conversation, right? And then even before we got into completely walking away from corporate America, and then us, Patrick being who he is. I mean, we had savings accounts, we had all that stuff. We didn't have a conversation with our CPA because they would have told us we were nuts.
Do that.
I mean, like, they're like,
Absolutely.
what are you doing? You're both
Absolutely.
earning X, Y, and Z, this, that. They were like, they would have been like, you guys are crazy. And so we just said, you know what, let's just go and throw that out of the door, because I don't want to be talked out of it. And with him being, very cautious and being very methodical, I was blown away at his decision to say, okay, I'm usually the person that's like, okay, everything has to be in place. I'm just going to throw all that away and trust us. And so that's why I always call him Superman. But most people don't realize why I call him, but that's why, because he became my hero at that moment, because that's someone who didn't just step out of their comfort zone. He stepped out of his entire being.
He stepped out completely.
Yeah. And so,
Pretty much.
Dealing with that piece of it, and also learning that not only do I have to be strong for my family and my wife and our kids, but I also have to learn to be this new person, right? And so for me, it was very interesting, all those dynamics, right?
Watching me ride the waves.
Watching him ride the wave, because
I
I've been on that road before, right? And so, but even still, we still had to sacrifice practically, just like you guys, practically everything. To get to the, but we didn't become as successful until he jumped on board. And that's really the point I was trying to make, is when he became full-time and we both in one accord, no matter what happened, ride or die, whatever, that is really when things started to take off for us in our business.
When you made that decision, what was going through your brain? What was the trigger for you?
Well, I mean, I know, we had talked about, again, we talked about the whole life goal stuff and what we want to be. And, we talk about retirement and building wealth and leaving something for our children, legacy, hence our company name. In my mind, it's like, well, corporate America, I mean, you can do well, right? Mm-hmm. But you're still at somebody else's, mercy, so to speak, right? We still believe in God and He'll take care of us regardless, but you still have to kind of, fit that mold of whatever they want to pay you and, and clocking in, clocking out. And, we've had entrepreneurial aspirations, on the side and various things. But then I was like, kind of played the what if, and we talked about it. And, of course, you meditate on it. And finally, and I know it's something that she was very passionate about. And we just kept mulling over it. And it was definitely out of my comfort zone by far. It definitely gave me some anxiety and, like, really want to do this. Or, have I gone crazy as well? But I definitely felt like, if it's something that we were both, willing to do. And, it was a good plan, if you will. And again, best laid plans, right?
Yep. Tell God your plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Hey, let's do it. Let's jump in. And we had overcome other challenges, prior to that. So I felt like at the end of the day, it felt right. It was something that, we both felt like was the right thing to do. And so, yeah.
You took that leap.
Yeah. It was just one of those things where.
Did you feel after the fact, when Aisha left her job, there was very much like a death. You know what I mean? For me, I've been building things since I was 19, and literally since I was 12 years old, I've wanted to do exactly what I do now. So it didn't change for me. Mm-hmm. Like, my day-to-day still hasn't really changed. For her, it was completely, to go from a career you spent 15 years in to leaving that, the degree, the certifications, the boards, the prestige on the table, and go, whole different person. There was probably 6 months of just mourning that.
For me, it was more of just the, I try to be a structured person, I guess it's naturally. And so kind of going into this environment where, I'm kind of like, well, why this doesn't make sense. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that?
Yeah. And this is an industry that is moving at 1,000 miles an hour.
And
right?
And you manage agents in a bunch of different businesses, if you will, so to speak. And there's emotion in there. There's let me be politically correct, but I guess it's almost like having a bunch of children sometimes because people don't listen, and you have to repeat yourself. I'm just kind of like, what in the world? Like, what's going on? So I basically was coming into their worlds. I mean, granted, I was licensed at the time, but the day-to-day, I was not a part of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting up here like, how can we have, 12 people at the meeting? They don't know how to come to meetings, and, the other 1099, but in my mind, like, people, you want to be
expecting people like the
successful,
job.
You want to train. Like, why wouldn't you want that? So just kind of, my mind had to shift a little bit, even from a staff perspective, right? One of the things I always said was, hey, there has to be clear leadership when you're running a brokerage and with staff and what have you.
Business,
that way they're not confused on, you're both part of leadership, but just, to make things go smooth. You don't want to kind of come in and just, disrupt, but at the same time. So I tried to observe, and there's some things I'm just like, oh, no, absolutely not. So she's like, no, you gotta let some kind of play out, and I agree with you on this, but some of this you need to kind of, you gotta stay in your lane on that. So it was an adjustment for me from that day-to-day perspective. I really didn't miss the whole corporate world as much, just because I got to the point to where I knew a lot of times the way my mind works, I'm, doing what I was doing.
He already took the blue pill. It just took him time to get in the matrix.
To get out.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that he agreed to put our life savings on the line for us to go from being, because we were virtual for ever, right? And I had a consulting business, which, gave up just to focus on this too. So, bring that back later, but my mindset had always been, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. Mom was an entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. And Pat was, operations process. So I don't think there was a morning there. I think for him, it was more of, I got the degrees, I got this, but whatever, I didn't want to be there anyways. He was ready from that perspective. But at the same time, I don't think he knew what he was getting himself into. And so that was another adjustment.
Yeah, me, I'm just kind of like, are we really gonna talk about this for 20 minutes, kind of thing? Like some topics, and you get
look,
some stuff wears me out. I'm sitting up here like, okay,
I'm with you. I'll chop up a meeting, boy. I'll chop up a meeting real. And see, with her business, she runs her team. Yeah. And I'm absorbed with construction stuff, so I don't have But when I stick my head in, it's like folks know when I get involved. It's a whole different. So she had a meeting with her team, and they were going over.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was an orientation or something. It was some kind of something that they had an hour-long book, and she shouldn't even been in the meeting. I was like, why are you even in the meeting? They can run this meeting independent of you. You're not even involved in this. And she comes to me before the meeting, and she's like, I got to find an efficient way to, I'm not managing my time. It's done. I was like, no. Look, let's go chop this up. I went in, I whiteboarded. I was like, look, here's y'all's objectives.
Yep. Here's
your time. We gone. And I took her with me when I left. Y'all figure this out.
Oh my gosh.
This is not for her to figure out. Period, point blank. There should not be more than 30-minute meetings on stuff that don't matter. Y'all don't need all these sessions and all these
conversations. Yeah.
Move on. And keep it basic.
And you don't have to eat and drink at every meeting and gathering.
Oh my gosh, don't get him started on that. He's like, why you always gotta feed?
Why we gotta order lunch?
Why you gotta cater? Why we gotta? You don't need Joe's Deli for every meeting.
That is super fun.
Well, y'all gonna eat if we didn't have a meeting?
But he does. He will walk in on he has access to my calendar. He's like our calendars. He will walk into a meeting and break it up and say, okay, time's up.
Where's the agenda?
You guys haven't figured it out by now.
You ain't gonna
figure
it
out
right now.
She got other things to do, so you need to go. And I'm like, don't be so rude. You don't want the agents to get mad.
She's a people person, and I get that. I'm not saying that I'm not, but I do know at the end of the day, when I see how it, wears on both of us, and we do what we have to do. We love our team, all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but there's sometimes, at the end of the day, when it's, it's the wear and tear on the body and the mind and whatever. I'm just like, look, we. Some of the stuff we're gonna have to kind of taper back a little bit. So
yeah. But it's the cool thing is, honestly, and we always go back and walk through and go, if we had to make a different decision, the truth of the matter is we would still make the same decision because it's been a great journey, and we couldn't have done it without it. There's no way we'd do this. I can't do this without you. I'm just gonna be.
I tell people that all the time. I'll be like, look, if something happens to Kevin, I'm shutting it all down. Until
I was like, yo, you got mad insurance. You could hire somebody to replace. She's
no,
like,
give me the
all
check.
this shit.
I'm going to figure out the rest
of
my life.
I'm not even going to be in this country.
Yeah.
I'm with her on that. Listen. It's
too big. She got charities and stuff to go get the insurance money too.
That big heart.
that big heart, right.
So we really appreciate, it was just so genuine and fluid, and I want to continue this conversation
Absolutely.
with you guys. I know that we have been trying to get, and what y'all have just seen was what we've been trying to do for quite some time. So thank you all for listening to banter with each other. Yeah. Thank you for sharing y'all's experience. Thank you for collaborating with us in this space. And I don't like to have people on my podcast once. So I'll have to come back. There will be another episode for sure.
Awesome.
Because I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of your business and how not only how you work together, but how you've reached that success and how we can share that with other people.
Absolutely. Sure. Because we didn't even get into those high volume conversations.
No, it's I think it's important to start.
You always every time
There's a
I
blessing
try
in
to
the
close.
benediction.
I do it every time.
He said, I'm not
Every
there yet,
time.
but I'm not
Every
there
time
yet.
I try to close, you come back.
Well,
Go ahead, babe.
I'm
You
teeing
can
you
have
up. I'm just gonna say, the start is always the most important because that's where the majority of the people are, right? They got to start doing something before they get to those levels to be able to even have those high level conversations. And Aisha always does a good job of bringing us back down the center to go. Most couples are trying to buy one house.
That's right.
Right? They're just trying to get started. They're trying to get a license or find out more information or go to a 3-day seminar or whatever. So I think this was great for that. And I cut your whole wrap up.
I don't have a rap anymore, guys. That's the end. Is all I have.
We always end up like this every time.
I love it.
I don't know how you missed the cues.
You guys are awesome.
You
Y'all got to
totally
work
missed
under the
them.
table thing.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
like-
No, Pat's got a lot of
No,
pictures.
see, it's like hopscotch. So you jumped in, I was like, oh.
But it's I love it's so cool because when we first met you guys, I was like, oh my gosh, they are us. Like they're exactly the type of couple we'd love to being around. And it's hard to find that, especially doing what we do, because most of our couple friends are we're pretty much we're the only entrepreneurs in our group, and so we don't tend to share a lot because a lot of folks can't really relate to those types of conversations, right? And even though you do try and
What are y'all
vent,
doing now?
you know,
Where y'all at?
it's
Y'all still traveling?
I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yes, we are. That's okay. So that's a good segue.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to create when I thought about marriage and real estate was definitely a group of people that share these similar experiences and also can build and have other experiences together too. And so we are extremely grateful that we can add you guys into the fold.
Love it.
And I'm truly looking forward to the experiences that we will create together and that we will also share with all of our audience as well. So yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
I'm Aisha.
I'm Kevin.
Okay, there you go.
Yep.
And this is the
I'm
Marriage
Jamilla.
and Real,
And I'm Patrick.
and this is the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast.